Moving on to your guest speakers today, we have two, and in that light, both Kathy and I have probably shortened our comments a little bit because it's a little warm here in the sun, and we try to keep this event to a minimum. So allow me to introduce your keynote speaker, Ambassador Gina Abercrombie Winstanley, a proud resident of Cleveland Heights growing up. Ambassador Abercrombie Winstanley has been a diplomat for 30 years and currently serves as the Chief Diversity and Inclusion Officer for the Department of State. Ms. Abercrombie Winstanley's resume includes Ambassador to the Republic of Malta, Deputy Coordinator for Terrorism, and coordinating the largest evacuation of American citizens from a war zone since World War II. She has spoken on topics ranging from how diversity and inclusion improve U.S. foreign policy making, cybersecurity, and counterterrorism, and strives to break down barriers to the full participation of women and minorities. Today she will speak on extending grace. Winstanley, as a Cleveland native, remains involved in Cleveland through her work with College Now Greater Cleveland, the Cleveland Museum of Contemporary Art, and others. She is the co-author of 2 papers published in the New York Review in Science Fiction and wrote the foreword for the Young Black Leader's Guide to a Successful Career in International Affairs. Ambassador, it's all yours.
Thank you, Mr. Garfield, for that gracious introduction, and thank you to Catherine Goss for the invitation to join you, and a warm thank you to all the organizers who are responsible for us gathering in such a beautiful place, in such fantastic weather. Yay, Cleveland! Lakeview Cemetery has always been part of our family life. As a born and bred Clevelander, I have relatives who lay at rest here, and I have long revered its storied beauty and history, a history of inclusion that is all too rare. As I prepared my remarks for today to speak in this place of history and community, I was humbled by the example of the Americans that we've gathered to honor. I come from a family of proud public servants. Of the 4 of us, my 3 siblings have all served in the U.S. military, Army, and Navy. Our family is proud of their service, and my siblings are proud to be called veterans. But today is not their day. Today, we honor those Americans who made the ultimate sacrifice for our nation. I want to speak about just a little about what we, today's America, owe those heroes. My own experience with the bravery and willingness to sacrifice that our sisters and brothers in uniform commit to when they choose to serve is very personal. U.S. Marines protect every diplomatic facility similar to the ones that I've led around the world. Sometimes, like in the Beirut bombing in 1983, when we lost 241 young heroes in a terrible instant, their sacrifice is the ultimate one. In my first leadership position, I was sent as the first woman to head a diplomatic mission in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. At that time, Saudi Arabia was the most conservative nation on earth when it came to women. Now let's be clear, my arrival was universally popular, but I was an example of America living its ideals. The secretary sent the best person for the job without reference to personal characteristics. During my time there, my mission was attacked by Al-Qaeda terrorists. It was a terrifying and heartbreaking day. By the end of it, 5 of my colleagues had been killed and another 10 wounded. In the following days, the United States government had a decision to make. We had to decide whether our loss was so great that we would shut down our presence in Jeddah, Or conversely, would we stay and send the clear message that we are not the people to be cowed by murderers? Well, it was the U.S. Marines who helped us decide. They quickly sent a platoon to Saudi Arabia to protect us in that hostile environment. Their presence allowed us to make repairs and strengthen our defenses and show the world what America stands for. I will never forget their inspiring arrival and over time their courage and kindness to all of us at that wounded mission. During those dark and difficult days, we stood together. Our Marines added to our diversity of background, faith, race, and origin, and we stood for America as one, united. I have served our nation for over 30 years as a representative of what we stand for and what we aspire to. I've proudly shared America's values and ideals with audiences around the world. A true telling of our story requires that we include our warts, our missteps, and mistakes. But I make sure that those learning about America understand that these detours are part of our journey to that more perfect union. That aspiration is called out in our earliest founding documents. We have known of our imperfections from our very beginnings. America is pretty darn good, but we are human and we can do better. In today's America, I think it's important that we remind ourselves of that preamble to the Constitution. Remember, it states, "We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, our next generations." Justice, domestic tranquility, common defense, and general welfare. These are what we promised ourselves and our next generations. Doing the work to ensure these benefits are what we owe the men and women who fought and died for this nation. In my day job, I work to ensure that America's representatives look like all of America. We don't want to waste any talent or knowledge or experience or background that could help us in our mission to protect our nation and ensure the best for our people and our posterity. I stand tall in this mission because it aligns perfectly with our Constitution's preamble. Those who made the ultimate sacrifice would understand it as the American way. Level playing fields, equal opportunity, and equal standing for anyone who is blessed to call themselves American. When we diplomats succeed, diplomacy brings about another day of peace for our nation. But when diplomacy falters, when our best efforts fail, it is America's heroes, like those we honor today, who answer the call of a grateful nation. But we live in challenging times. We struggle to maintain goodwill toward each other. We are fearful of each other, and too often intolerant, and worse, violent with each other. As we strive to increase inclusion and belonging, I tell my colleagues, do more than bring their authentic selves to work. I tell them, keep that realness at home. I want them to bring their best selves. It is with our best selves that we are able to navigate our differences and work together, united for the good of our nation. The only way to do that well is to embrace tolerance, to extend grace to each other, because none of us, no one of us is perfect. So even as we strive, we must extend grace. I was raised to know that it is in our very nature to meet our national challenges. We are a prideful people, but we have much to take pride in. As I've traveled the world, foreigners frequently note the traits that mark us as unmistakably American. Enthusiasm, curiosity, confidence, and a willingness to be publicly happy. We combine what writer Hisham Melhem cited as a unique combination of social dynamism and audacious cultural vitality. That is us. With all of those traits share is that they were born of our history and our life experience. I have lived in places where civil discourse, public safety, and our precious freedoms to gather, to speak, to worship, and to love freely are mere dreams for people in those countries. The heroes we honor today have ensured our way of life. We must fight to protect it, not only from foreign enemies, but from those among us who would squander it. Our cultural audacity provides us the tools to do so, and our commitment to our history and culture demand that we use these tools. We are strong enough, and we must be wise enough not to squander the gifts that are America. Gifts that today Americans across the country and around the world acknowledge were won at terrible cost. Those we honor today and those who continue to answer the call have the right to expect the best of us as a nation. And in gratitude, we must offer our best. A truly grateful nation can do no less. I thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador.